All right, Sheriff, where are we going?
Well, we hit the remote part first, and then we'll get back into town. Or we can do vice versa, whatever you want to do.
Where's the more interesting part?
Well, it's all interesting.
Okay, let's do remote. Yeah.
That's where all the people are dying. So, Yuma County, 5,500 square miles. I got 95 deputies that patrol all of this.
Okay.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The cartels have designated locations along the border. They allow people to cross. Then the cartels also have designated areas that they control where their narcotics come across. And those that do not want to be apprehended are also guided through. Anybody that crosses the border here is paying anywhere from $6,000 per person up to $15,000. It all depends on what country you came from. So those that are coming from Russia, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, the Ukraine, they're paying more to get here.
You're getting migrants from that part of the world.
Oh yeah, 140 different countries. You figure this last federal fiscal year in Yuma County, just on the river corridor, there are over 310,000 people that were apprehended and processed by Border Patrol agents. And then out in the eastern part of my county, in the remote desert, there's over 28,000 getaways that they know of for sure. There could be more. That's the impact for Yuma Sector Border Patrol, which is either the second or third smallest Border Patrol sector in the whole for U.S. Border Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running maybe 800 agents that had to handle over 310,000 people. There's the border right there.
Where? Oh, the fence is up there.
Yeah.
What I was told in South Texas was the fence isn't going to stop anyone. 32-foot fence, 33-foot ladder, whatever, right? But it makes it easier for Customs and Border Protection to deal with it because they can set up the infrastructure on the on the fence. You can see where people are all pinching together to go over, whatever. Is that your
It's a deterrent. It's a deterrent. And yes, they do use ladders, but ergo, you have cameras, you have sensors, but it does slow down that criminal element so that Border Patrol can actually respond and get there to be able to apprehend. And it keeps individuals from impacting our farmers. When most people hear Yuma, Arizona, they think of desert. What you need to understand is Yuma County supplies the whole of the United States 90% of your winter leafy greens. When you have these gaps in the fencing that were stopped, it's just an open area and it funnels the cartels. This is one of the crossing points, is right down here. And there's where it impacts our farmers because those individuals were going into those fields and defecating and the trash was being left there. As a farmer, because of food safety, you can't harvest that area. It's now contaminated.
What do?
They just have to plow it under. So where we're at here is Morales Dam. Obviously, United States, Mexico, right across the river. Cartels designated this as one of the crossing points. So you can see along that, where that pickup is at, there's a little road that goes down. So they get off at the airport, Mexicali, take the Uber, bus, cab.
Get off at the airport?
Yeah, they all fly into Mexicali. Everybody that's coming here is flying in.
They're not doing the long, hard journey through the country.
None of these folks are doing that. They're flying in. Some of these countries, they have to manipulate airports according to whether or not that country requires a visa. Some of the Russians were going out through Dubai and other countries to make it all the way into Cabo. They'd spend a couple weeks in Cabo, and then they would fly into Mexico City, then into Mexicali. So all these different 140 plus countries, they're all educated enough to figure out how to get from airport to airport to airport. So 310,000 have crossed this area of the river corridor from here, between here and about 8 miles.
You guys down here were putting storage containers, right?
Right, the governor.
To block the gaps here?
Right. They pulled all the containers out because finally this administration has decided that they need to finish this portion because of the sheer amount and volume of people coming in here illegally.
So this fence is going to be built here soon?
They're supposed to be contracted out to put in the rest of this gap, but not all gaps, and I'll show you that out. So they just walk off, the bus, walk down that little trail right there, come across right here. So you're not even getting wet.
And then who gets them here on the Arizona side?
Border Patrol.
That's so interesting. So they want to get caught.
Oh yeah, they're it's what we call give-ups. These are individuals that those countries won't take them back. So
Like the Russians won't take them back?
No.
Okay. So once they
claim an asylum because they're coming from a country of violence.
Okay, so once they get in, Customs Border Protection takes them in, processes them, and then they have an asylum court hearing.
Well, they're given a notice to appear wherever they're going in the U.S. You got to have a sponsor.
Okay.
So, and I picked up pieces of paper showing addresses within the interior of the United States, Wisconsin, New Jersey, where that's where they're going.
What's your understanding of the backlog right now when they have to appear in that state?
Before this administration came along, the backlog, as we understood it, was anywhere from 7 to 11 years because they had over 11 million illegals that were still pending hearings.
He's going the other way. He's going to Mexico. Oh, there we go. Holy shit.
Alto! Is he?
Okay, the one guy went through the gap. This guy's swimming right now.
See him?
Just went into the reeds. Literally, guys, we've been down here just 10 minutes or so.
He's still walking that way. No, he's in the water. Yeah, I'm watching him. You gonna get the other one? Just two? Okay.
So I thought it would have been a nighttime thing, but it's all
day long, every day. So these are the ones that are the good ones.
So this guy will go back, hide in the reeds, wait a while, and then
no problem.
He doesn't want to get caught. Why does he want to get caught?
Probably because he's prior deport or he's got a criminal history. You just heard him laughing. He thinks it's funny. It's all good.
It's just cat and mouse. It's hard to explain, guys. A very surreal part of the country, and until you see it firsthand, I know the video does a bit of capturing it, but there's the opportunity, and many people want the opportunity. Very understandable. Why wouldn't you want to go where the opportunity is? I mean, like I've always said, I would do the same thing if I was living in poverty or in a terrible situation. I would go to the U.S. But as an American, I want the legal process to be respected. Well, we should know everyone who's coming in our country, right?
He's coming in this way.
There's the one in the front.
Yeah, he's already over and working his way up towards the other side.
You sprinted pretty hard there.
Man, I'm out of breath. I need to.
Did you catch the other one?
Yeah, the second one was left by the train tracks.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Put you down as the sister.
Well, at least you caught the one that was getting away. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, let me ask you something. What's the threshold? Of dealing with it.
Right.
This country cannot afford to take care of all these other countries' issues.
Right.
I mean, right now, you look at the massive amount of money being spent each and every day by this administration to deal with it. So you look at one tent to house individuals, just to sleep in it, is about $4.5 million a month. Okay? One tent.
Oh, one of these big tents.
One of these big tents that you see on the news, 4.5 million. Now the other tents are about 6.5 million because that's where they have to cook the food and feed the folks. Then you look at the fact that they've got laundry services so they can get their laundry done. And the fact that Border Patrol each and every day has to buy food, clothing, to clothe these individuals. When does it stop? It's 16 million a month for HHS just to deal with the unaccompanied children that come across. That's your tax dollars more.
But we don't have any problems in this country, so we have plenty of money to spend.
Well, if you live in a bubble, you don't have a problem, but we deal with reality
Got it all
here.
figured out here. No issues in America.
Because there's so many coming across, and they were going out into these farm fields and defecating and littering, the county had to put up these porta-johns at certain locations so that they wouldn't go out in the fields and contaminate the farm fields. Why is the county having to pay that bill?
Right.
The federal government has already said that immigration is their sole responsibility, right? They've said that. Why aren't they paying their bills? There are things in law enforcement called ethics, integrity. I don't get that out of Mayorkas at all.
Okay, for those who don't understand who Mayorkas is,
It's the Secretary of Homeland Security. His sole responsibility is the safety and security of this country, and he's failing miserably. So here's all the fencing
okay.
that's just been sitting here. All this fencing that was bought by taxpayer money, just sitting there collecting dust. We're down here now. I was showing him all the areas where they're cutting the fence and stuff like that.
They're cutting this with what, a blowtorch?
They'll use a combination of wheel, because they use the battery-operated angle grinder, and then they'll cut the metal, and then they have to chisel out the concrete, because each one of those posts has concrete in it. Stay safe, brother.
Okay, so someone might hear, you got the fence, but they can cut a hole in it, so why have the fence?
Again, it's a deterrent.
Okay.
B, the amount of time it takes them to be able to cut this
Yeah.
gives the Border Patrol the ability to come down here and intercept. So when you see parts of the fence that have that patch on it,
Okay, right there.
that's where they have cut right above that piece, and that's allowed them the ability to swing that fence post
Okay.
so they can get through. And you see there's a walkway all along the side of this fence. I've actually intercepted them cutting the fence myself, and I got the one-finger wave because it pissed them off.
Can you
But-
do anything being sheriff, or
The only thing I can
Border
do is
Patrol
if
has
they,
to do it?
the Border Patrol has to do it. Arizona had 1070 law, and that allowed us to charge an individual for smuggling. But the Obama administration sued the state of Arizona, took them to court. The Supreme Court said, yes, you're right. Federal responsibility is immigration. Smuggling is part of that. So Arizona, you cannot charge a person for smuggling. So if we detain anybody for just an immigration violation, technically we can get charged by the Department of Justice for kidnapping. Figure that one out. Even if our officers respond to a domestic violence call, we find a house full of individuals that are in there, there's nothing that we can charge that person with, knowing that they are smuggling. Now, we can try to get a hold of Border Patrol if they have people to respond, but that's inhuman. All the rest of the places throughout the country, they don't have access to Border Patrol or HSI to come take the place.
What's the number one nationality you're seeing these days?
Right now, I think the top ones is Ecuador.
What's with OTM? Heard of that other than Mexican?
Yeah, they've used that for years other than Mexican. That's what all these are. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of individuals from Mexico proper trying to come across, because they'll get returned immediately because there's that agreement with the country. So when you look at people talking about Title 42, that's where they're able to send individuals back to those countries. 95% of what comes across into Yuma is Title 8. These are individuals that are coming from countries where that government won't take them back.
Are the cartels operating much on this side of the border?
Oh,
Yuma,
yeah.
are you dealing with them?
They're on both sides. It's safer for them to live over here. Think about it. So you do have members of the cartel that live in the U.S. all along the border. You have sicarios that live on the U.S. side.
Sicarios.
Hitmen.
Okay.
Those are what the cartels use to take out their opponents. So you have major narcotics groups all through the U.S. MS-13 is one that everybody's familiar with hearing with. Well, that's why they're integrated in all these communities, because they work with the cartels. Not only the narcotics side, but the human side as well. Because if you can't afford to pay the cartel, then you are going to pay them in another way. Human trafficking. So they're going to pay according to what the cartel wants. So if you got a kid, they may use that kid to smuggle in other people, send them back to that country, bring in somebody else, portray a family unit. You may end up
Portray a family unit, because if you come in as a family unit,
you have quicker access to get into the U.S. So we're coming up on the Kokopah tribal land, and in Arizona, tribal land is sovereign land. And the Kokopah is a river, the river people. So they need access to the river because that's part of their...
So on their tribal land, there's no fence?
There's no fence. There are bollards, or we call them Normandy barriers. And that's used to keep the individuals that were smuggling narcotics from coming across in vehicles and UTVs. But again, here's the porta-johns that we had to do. Border Patrol had to put up a cover for shade.
So this is for migrants coming in?
Yep. So to give you an idea of the monstrosity that we were dealing with here, this was all covered in trash. Some NGOs have come in and cleaned this up. But what I would find down here is all these identification cards and passports. I picked all these up myself.
Just in the dirt out here?
Just on the ground. And we might find some again today. But see, these are individuals that have fled countries of violence, then gone to another country, been allowed to stay there. That's what a lot of these green ones are. They've been allowed to reside in those countries and work and live. That's not what their original intent was. The original intent was to get through that country to get to the United States. So they discard their passports, their ID cards, and they portray themselves as somebody different from their original country of violence. So it's a game. So we share all this with HSI. So every one of these have been shared with our federal government. But this is just a small snapshot of what I've picked up down here as far as passports.
If you're from Venezuela, right? Let me try to walk through this, right? You come over, you come up through Mexico, right? You want to discard your passport before you come over?
Yeah, because everything's given to you here.
Okay, what happens if you come over with your passport? They're going to say...
Well, for some now, they're allowed to stay.
Some are allowed to stay.
Yeah. Okay. But those individuals have already reestablished residency somewhere else.
So maybe it's a Venezuelan that lived in Mexico for 5 years.
Or a year.
Or a year, okay.
And their ultimate goal was to get here.
Right. I read a lot of the Haitians that came in, say this last summer, or whenever that was in the last year.
Yeah.
A lot of them had lived in Chile or other places, not even Haiti, and they recently came up. But they haven't even been in Haiti for a long time. Okay, so here's where it ends.
So here's where the fencing ends, and this is the tribal land, as you can see. So you have the Kokopah tribal land, which is sacred, sovereign land. You get some border challenge points up right here. See what I'm talking about? They toss their money. So this is all money. They know when they get here, they're going to be able to...
Here's a euro.
Yeah, so
look at that.
Let's pick them up.
You have a euro?
Don't throw it back there. I'll put it in my...
You're a coin collector, actually.
Well, I use it for display purposes. So,
what coins have you seen? Like, what are the most far out there coins?
I'm waiting to find something from Russia.
We're looking for Russian rubles out here on the border.
Anybody I bring down here, well, you missed a bunch. But you see right here, they tear up their IDs. They're still doing it.
Okay.
They tear up their identification card because they don't want to get caught.
Chile?
There's some more right there. See, look. You're missing a lot of money.
More euros? This is crazy.
When I bring people...
What a wild... I mean, you're used to it, but what a wild part of the world. We're right here.
Yeah.
Yuma County, then the natives control this land.
Right.
We have euros in the dirt.
Yeah.
And Russians and 140 nationalities getting through here some way, shape, or form.
Oh, yeah. Here's some more right here, look. See? More IDs, tore apart.
Okay, so they
Now,
just
if you
click,
put this
they click
together-
the IDs.
See, if you put this together, it'll have all the information you need.
So why do they do it right on the border? Why don't they just do it like way in there?
Lord only knows.
Toothbrushes.
Yeah.
So it's not an eco-friendly bunch, but that's the last thing on their minds. Obviously, trying to get into
Yeah, they
another
don't care.
country.
I mean, you look at some of this trash, I can show you pictures where all of this is just covered in trash, this whole area. But luckily an NGO came along and cleaned it up because they knew senators were coming. And because the senators are coming, you got to sanitize before they get here to make it look like there's not really a big issue.
Because you come here now and you're like, yeah, there's no issue. There's no one trying to get over.
Yeah.
But you're saying it pulses. Like you have the tent set up there. You had a big rush here. Now it's somewhere else.
Now it's moved.
We had the guy that we ran into down there, obviously. Hold on.
Oh, look, there's all kinds of them right here.
This guy's from China.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm going to be devil's advocate for 1 second, right?
Right.
Just go along with me here. We're a country of immigrants.
Right.
We all came from somewhere.
Right.
And we need immigration. We need a workforce. We need brains. We need talent. We need work. But like you said before, there's a threshold. Like how much can you take? And everyone has a threshold. As in, like they're living in their house,
Right.
and if all of a sudden they had 300 people show up on their truck on, they would have reached their threshold, right? So what is that threshold? Maybe that's the big question, which nobody can really agree on, right?
Well, you have these electeds, and all you hear is, we need to fix our immigration. We need to fix our immigration laws, right? Why don't we have a change in immigration? Because they keep getting bigger. So what do? They create a crisis to take their mind off of the fact that they can't do their job.
What's the crisis?
Immigration. COVID. You name it.
There's another euro. Did you ever see as many euros down here? Euro coins?
Oh,
Or is that a new thing?
Oh no, I got, oh look, the whole ID. There's a Peru. Oh look, more. See, they don't.
So do they find it easier over here, obviously?
Oh yeah, you can look at the top here. Look, there's some, it's blowing right at you.
It's snowing currency. You know how much this isn't worth anymore.
Well, over there it is.
So the Pokemon fence is just to show that's where the border. Obviously, that doesn't stop anything.
Well, that was actually put into place to deter the tractor thefts and the stolen vehicles that were being stolen here, taken into Mexico. The tractors were obviously sold to other farmers down deep in Mexico, but the cars were turned into smuggling vehicles, and they would drive back across with large loads of narcotics. So that's why all that was put into place. It was like a vehicle barrier, but it didn't deter the tribe's ability to get to the river. Now that we're down here toward Gadsden and San Luis, welcome to Jurassic Park. So please keep your hands and your limbs inside the vehicle at all times, because I don't want you to,
You have a garage door opener for the fence? Is that what's going on here?
for the gate.
This is still the U.S., right?
Yeah, this is all U.S.
Okay.
Welcome to Mexico. Like I'm gonna be carrying guns in Mexico. They'd love that right now.
So what do we have here? Burnt wire? What's the point of that?
Well, they were keeping warm, so they burned anything that they could find.
Isn't setting a fire here just like a basic sign that you're here and
Well, they got a camera right there, so they know. But they're just waiting for Border Patrol to have the resources to come pick them up. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah. Here we got a Cuba.
We're gonna work on your powers of observation.
I know, but this is the hard details.
You're supposed to
Oh, you
give
want?
it
Oh,
to
sorry. I forgot. I'm your
You know,
Trevette. Yeah,
yeah.
you're Walker, Texas Ranger. I'm Trevette. How does it make you feel though, seeing this every day? Do you become numb, or does it dishearten you because you
Well,
love your country, or what does that feel like for you?
I feel bad for the rest of the country because we're all gonna have to deal with this. Your community is gonna pay the price for what this administration is doing. I'm not enforcing the rule of law. The bottom line is, to enter this country legally, you have to go to a port of entry. Claim asylum at a port of entry. That is the law. I get the fact that a lot of the politicians don't like the immigration law. Well, fix it and change it. But until then, you need to enforce the rule of law. It worked. We've seen it through the prior administration when we were only getting 25 to 40 apprehensions a day in Yuma
okay.
County proper versus over 1,000 a day now. This administration, because of their politics and personal and political ideologies, stopped all that because they hate one guy who actually supported law enforcement. And the people of this country need to understand that this is coming into their backyard. This person's going to be in their backyard under a different name, and you don't know what kind of criminal history this guy's got. I've run into doctors, I've run into lawyers from different countries down here, I've run into school teachers. They're straight up with you on why they're coming here. But then you have the others that don't want to be identified, and why. Is this a child molester? Is this a murderer? What kind of crimes has he done in that country that he fled? That's a question that anybody in public safety would want to know. But yet, because of the policies of this administration, we're probably never going to know until it's too late, because somebody's going to get hurt. That's what's great about being sheriffs in rural areas. When you've worked in that community for so long, they know you. It's one thing that I tell every officer that goes through an academy. Never, ever in your career compromise your integrity or your ethics, because once you compromise that, you can never get that back. So
You've been here for how long in law enforcement?
well, I started as a reserve when I was in the Marine Corps back in 1985. For all you mathematicians out there, how many years was that?
We're coming up on almost 40.
38?
2 years,
30?
yeah.
We're given a gift of being able to go out and do something that's going to help somebody else. So I enjoy the fact that I can go out and do things that most careers don't allow you to do.
Okay, so these are field workers?
No, these are illegals.
Seriously?
Yes.
Can we cruise by them?
Yeah, we're gonna. So the cartels are collecting their money down here under this bridge. So that bridge is actually in Mexico, but there is nothing between us and there other than this fence.
Wow. So they're super casual and look like
Yeah.
they're walking off to school or the
You
park
got
or
men,
something.
women, children, infants.
So you wave to them.
Why not?
So you have a decent relationship with these people.
Well, I'm not here to. It doesn't matter where they're from. We still have a duty and responsibility as far as public safety goes. Some of these people have been victimized. The children have been taken to our child facilities because they were violated along the truck. You don't know what's happening. You're welcome to talk to them.
Okay, yeah.
Find out where they're from and where they're going.
Yeah, yeah. Hola. ¿De dónde eres? Ecuador? Colombia? Buenos días. Buenos días.
Ecuador,
Colombia?
where are you going in the U.S.?
California, New York?
California? Huh?
New York. But don't do this anymore. No más Estados Unidos. Por favor. Por favor. Gracias. Buena suerte.
Another one. Zoom in right into the bridge on the park.
Okay.
Well, that's where they'll meet up with the cartels and the.
So the cartels are right there. Do they ever fire over the border?
Oh yeah. We actually had some individual border patrols doing special detail because we're having a bunch of kidnappings going on out here because the criminal element over in Mexico knows that these folks have money. So as the cartels have got them across, another criminal group will come in, kidnap them to take all their money and their jewelry. So Border Patrol is doing special detail down here. We got an actual shootout with the bad guys. One died in the U.S. So he ended up in our mortuary. But that happens down here quite a bit along this area because it's so lucrative. I mean, it's a cash crop per se.
Every one of these people in their eyes is what, $6,000,
Yeah.
$7,000,
So
$8,000.
It's quick money.
The cartels don't want to mess with you, correct? Like they
No.
wouldn't fire a bullet over.
Oh, they probably would.
Should we get in the car?
I mean, it's something we live with every day. Trust me, if they start shooting at me, I'm shooting back. Because that's still the U.S. And they know that local law enforcement doesn't tolerate it. If you get caught over here, you're going to jail, period. They already know that here, and they know that over there. The feds might let them get away with it, but local law enforcement will not. So, yeah.
Tell these people there's some water over here. Amigos, agua. Okay, you got it.
This place will be full of people. They usually have them come over in large groups, and here's why they do that. They will inundate Border Patrol with large groups of individuals that are give-ups. So it ties up Border Patrol's resources from the field and takes them away from out east so they can get their narcotics and the other human smuggling for those that don't want to get caught across the border.
So yeah, the clothes, you know, like new white clothes. The backpack looks pretty new, not dirty. They didn't do a hard journey.
No.
And so how it works is if you get over, right, you're gonna call back home and you're gonna say to your friends or relatives, gonna be saying, hey, here's how you do it. It's pretty easy right now.
Yep.
It just encourages more.
Yeah. They're coming here to better their life. I get that. But they need to do it the legal way. I'm also a public safety servant. Anybody in my county, we respond to help. We've handled over 780 911 calls from immigrants that were left abandoned out in our remote desert, needing help.
780 last year? Or
Yeah. If we end up with somebody that has a medical condition down here, that takes away that EMS resource from that community to handle this down here. Federal government isn't reimbursing them. Our deputies working on overtime, much like the rest of local law enforcement, try to fill the gap for Border Patrol because they're tied up with this. We've taken over 70 death investigations out in the remote desert because people died out there because they were abandoned by the cartels. You're right here in San Luis, Arizona. That's San Luis, Mexico, right across the fence. So what the cartels will do is they will have a large buildup of individuals that don't want to get caught. They will utilize those ladders to get up the fence and cross over. Border Patrol has to respond to try to catch them, but unfortunately, you're so close to the housing areas that they don't catch them all. So they do end up in the neighborhoods, and that's part of the impact on the local community.
how do these neighborhoods feel?
Well, they don't care for that. They don't want it in their backyard any more than you'd want somebody running into yours.
But there are probably some stash
They're
houses
not.
out here, right?
Oh, there are. I mean, right up here is the old Kentucky Fried Chicken building, where we had the most recent drug tunnel identified.
Drug tunnel
Drug tunnel.
into the Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yeah. So it came up into the kitchen,
The drug tunnel went under the fence.
under the canal. Kentucky Fried Chicken had sold the building to another guy. It was owned privately because a guy was going to turn it into another restaurant.
Okay, so it was in between ownership. It wasn't operating at that time.
Right. So they built a tunnel under all this infrastructure. And they ended up tunneling up to the kitchen area, and it was a small opening because it was all hard narcotics. So we're talking fentanyl, heroin, cocaine, methane.
So no one was crawling through it. It
Oh,
was just-
they were crawling all the way up, but the hole in the floor was small.
Do you think they'll make it to the Pizza Hut this year?
Hard to say.
They're quite ambitious, so it could happen.
You got to be one heck of an engineer to be able to plot depth and everything else to get all the way over there to here. That's millions of dollars. And you see that pinkish style building up there?
Yeah.
Right across the street was an old postal type business. Not U.S. Postal, but a packaging company. That's where the other tunnel came across, is right up there. So it went underneath all that up there.
So what percentage of tunnels do you think are not getting discovered that are currently in operation?
I'm sure there's quite a few.
Plenty of them, huh?
Yeah. Right now, a big thing for us down here dealing with is drones. You got a drone that can carry a few pounds. Fentanyl doesn't weigh much, right? So you can get a big old package of fentanyl, have a drone come across, and they're GPS controlled to a certain location, And they'll drop it in a neighborhood, and then they'll fly back.
And just so you guys all know, sheriffs can speak openly, unlike most police officers, unlike Customs and Border Protection, they cannot speak on camera, correct?
No.
Like, they're not going to speak like you do.
No, they have to get authorization from, like chiefs of police, they have to get authorization from their council and their city managers.
And they're going to speak political speak, double speak. They're not really going to tell the true story because that could jeopardize their employment, whereas sheriffs, you're not accountable to anybody. Is that correct? Is that the story?
I'm accountable to the people I work for. That's the community of Yuma.
And one of the very cool things about the United States is you can do a ride-along. Like, technically, this is a ride-along. I go to the sheriff's office, I can fill out paperwork, and I can ride with the sheriff to understand what you guys do.
And you can do that with your local law enforcement police department, too.
Oh, yep.
You know? And I wouldn't encourage people to do that. I will tell you what, I've got over 100 volunteers that work for my agency. These are folks that are retired, that wanted something to do to give back to their communities. So I have a number of volunteers that go through our academy, that are armed, that go out into this desert and do proactive patrols. They work with our search and rescue group. They grab a patrol car and they go out and they help us with neighborhood watch. It's all about being involved in your community. I'm ahead east. Just so you know where we're going. Oh, do you? Okay. Going so far?
So here we go, double fence.
Yep. See 2 lights up, right? All the rest of these didn't get put up with the cameras because this administration stopped. Now you have this, Highway 2, and this, no gate.
So how are they getting over this one? They can get over with a ladder. That takes a little time, then they have to get that ladder over, and then they have to
Well, really, you just shimmy down.
shimmy down.
Yeah,
And then you'd have to get another ladder set up here, which would take time, or you can just go
which
through
will
the...
allow Border Patrol to get here, but there's no gate. So, how much does that make sense?
It's the smoothest dirt road I've been on.
It's because you're in a Raptor. My search and rescue is out here with these because regular four-wheel drives, they just get beat up. You get beat up because it's not all smooth, as you'll see. When I cut up through Smuggler's Pass, it gets a little rough.
Oh, yeah.
That was beautiful. This is a well-known area where individuals are brought up because you can cross right here.
So here we have the trail going right up, and this is the border. When they get to the U.S. side here, this is pretty tough going, huh? There's nothing over here.
It's 2 to 3 days walking directly north from here to get to any kind of civilization. And unfortunately, this is where we end up with people dying. Is because they've been led to believe that it's only a little ways, you don't have to carry a lot, you don't have to have a lot of food, a lot of water. And you're going through a bother. This is where the military trains, and they do live fire. There's a lot of unexploded ordnance and everything else.
So the cartels have already got their money. When they get the people, the migrants to here, they've done their job, right? They got their money, so they don't care if they die in the USA?
No. It's a commodity, it's not a good commodity.
So you're
Are
saying...
those people up there? Those are people.
Where?
Right here.
Oh, jeez.
Thank